refreshing. Much like the movie I'm going to review, Captain America, Civil War, refreshing! After the film that I last did a review for, which would have been Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, Captain America: Civil War is like a cool, refreshing glass of water, like a deep breath of fresh air. This is what a superhero movie should be. This is the movie that when I got home after seeing it today, I went on social media and I typed out, well, now that is more like it. But I'm not going to do too much comparing and contrasting of this movie to Batman v Superman, because to say that this movie is better than Batman v Superman is the definition of damning with faint praise. There are a whole plethora of bad movies, including bad superhero movies, that are still way better than Batman v Superman, which was a pile of garbage. Captain America: Civil War is not only not as bad as Batman v Superman, it is a really, really outstanding film in its own right and deserves to be discussed in that context and deserves to be judged on its own merits, on its own successes and shortcomings, and that's what I'm going to do in this video. It's difficult to categorize it because by its title, it is a Captain America movie, and of all the characters in this movie, and there are a massive number of characters in this movie, but of all of the characters in it, Captain America is clearly the central character. He gets the most time. His story is the most important story in the movie. But there are so many other characters in it that it feels a lot like an Avengers movie. It feels like an Avengers movie that just focuses unusually narrowly on one particular Avenger. So if we count it as a Captain America movie, I would put it just like a notch below The Winter Soldier as my favorite Captain America movie. I don't think it's quite as good as The Winter Soldier, but it is right nipping at its heels. Really, really, really good Captain America movie. If we're judging it as an Avengers movie, then it's my favorite Avengers movie. I like this movie better than Avengers or Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. And if you watch my reviews of both of those films, you know that I liked both of those movies a lot. I really enjoyed both of Joss Whedon's Avengers films. But this movie, Civil War, I think is superior to both of them. And it succeeds in many of the ways that those two Avengers movies succeeded, but it also succeeds in ways that those two Avengers movies maybe fell short a little bit. The directors of this film, the Russo brothers, are, I think, even better than Joss Whedon was at balancing the very large cast of characters and justifying the presence of every character in this movie. Because this is one of those movies, like when they do really big crossover stories in comic books, the main reason why this movie exists is for a commercial purpose. It's to get all of these characters on screen at the same time. It's to have a movie where all of these characters are in it at once. That will be a great box office draw. That'll get people to come out to the theater. And just as in a comic book version of a story like this, it can be difficult to have a justification in the story for all of these characters to be here. And the Russo brothers pull this trick off very nicely in this movie. It never really feels like a given character is there just to be able to go here. You know, everybody is here because they need to be, and everybody has an important role to play in the story. Everybody has their own moments to shine and their own character moments to sort of give them a bit of development and a reason for being, and it's pulled off really well. The balancing act here is more deftly executed than in the two proper Avengers movies. Another thing that really elevates this movie above most of its competition, both in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and in other comic book movie franchises, is how seriously it takes the themes that it explores. This is a movie that is really all about the unintended consequences of superheroes flying around the world doing their superhero stuff. When our heroes see that they have caused destruction unintended, and that innocent people, innocent bystanders have been injured and killed because of what they did, it affects them. It hurts them. It grieves them. They feel remorse. They feel guilt. It's almost as if they have consciences, and it bothers them that their actions, heroic though they may have been, have inadvertently harmed and killed people. It's almost as if they're real human beings who care about helping people and are upset when they learn that they have actually harmed people. And this becomes the conflict that defines the movie. This is the cause of the Civil War, so to speak. On one side, you have Tony Stark, who, continuing with his character arc that began all the way back in the first Iron Man movie, is a man who is haunted by his past, who is haunted by his failures, who is haunted by the fact that he used to be someone who contributed to the destruction of the planet, who sold weapons, and has spent every day since his change of heart trying to make up for that, trying to make things better, trying to be a protector rather than a destroyer. And when he is forced to confront his failures in that respect, it really, really affects him. It moves him very deeply, and he comes to support this movement from the governments of the world to place the Avengers under some kind of official authority. And on the other side of that, you have Captain America, Steve Rogers, who is also deeply affected by the collateral damage, by the harm that his team has inadvertently caused, but also is worried about the crippling effect that that government oversight may have on the team. And one of the masterstrokes of this movie, and again, I credit this to the superb writing of this movie, is that you see where both of them are coming from. You completely see and sympathize with Iron Man's position. At least I do. When I was sitting in the theater watching, I completely understood where Iron Man was coming from and what his concerns were. And I also completely sympathized with Captain America. What he said made sense to me as well. They both had good points. And you get to see why each of them feels the way they feel, and you also understand why the conflict between them becomes so irreconcilable. And because of that, when the two sides of the team, because, you know, as you've seen in the posters and the trailers, about half of the Avengers and a few non-affiliated Marvel heroes who come in to join the fight, half of them side with Iron Man and half of them side with Captain America. And when you finally get to that point in the movie where the two teams are coming to blows and are fighting each other, it's exhilarating, of course, it's exciting, it's cool, just on a very fundamental comic book nerd level to see these people, you know, these superheroes throwing down and having an awesome fight. But it's also kind of heartbreaking because they are all friends and because they do still care about each other and respect each other. And because their conflict is based on a disagreement where both sides kind of have a point. Really well executed. On a technical level, it's just superb. The action scenes are fantastic. There's an opening action scene featuring the sort of new Avengers team that we found ourselves with at the end of the last Avengers movie, led by Captain America with Scarlet Witch and the Vision and the Falcon, doing their Avengers thing. And there's just a thrilling action sequence, some great fights, and a really awesome chase sequence right after that. Some beautiful scenes apart from the action, some beautiful scenes between Captain America and Iron Man, beautiful character development for Tony Stark, a really wonderful scene between Tony Stark and Peter Parker, who, as everybody knows, not spoiling anything, Spider-Man is in this movie. This is Spider-Man's introduction into the shared Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's really well done. The version of Spider-Man they've introduced here is really appealing and really fun and really sympathetic, and he has just a lovely scene with Tony Stark. And damn it, even the villain winds up being something of a sympathetic figure, and builds up to a scene that not only reveals a very human side to him, but also allows one of our heroes to act heroically and act ethically. This is the sort of product that you get when superhero material is placed in the hands of people who know which parts of it to take seriously, know which parts of it to really explore and drill down into, and which parts of it to to be light with and to have fun with. And this is a movie that does both of those very well. Even though it deals with some very serious themes in a very serious way, it is also a ton of fun, not just because the action scenes are very well staged, but I mean, there are one-liners and jokes that are really funny and also true to the characters, so they're not just sticking out like sore thumbs as though somebody said, we need some jokes. Everything flows very naturally. Everything works. It's just a superb, superb superhero film. Probably the best superhero team-up movie that we're likely to get. If one of the subsequent Avengers movies turns out to be better than this, I will consider myself very, very fortunate indeed. But for now, I think for these big superhero mashup movies where you have, you know, a cast of, you know, like a dozen heroes in the movie, this is probably as good as this sort of thing gets, because it has a wonderful focus and yet also a very skillful balance of the many characters. It takes its themes seriously, and they are very relevant themes that are resonant to the characters as well as the audience. It's a work not only of great adventure fiction, but it's also a work of commentary on its genre and an exploration and, in a way, sort of a deconstruction of the superhero genre and of what it would really be like if these people actually existed and behaved the way they have behaved for so many decades in comic books. It's just a splendid movie. I really, really liked it, and it is exactly what I needed to see after the depressing disaster that was the Batman v Superman movie. This is the way it should be done. And the reason that the Marvel Studios films have been so much more successful and so much more accessible to people than the more recent DC films is because Marvel Studios consistently produces movies like this, that take their characters seriously, that take their themes very seriously, but also are fun and exciting, and you leave the theater feeling good and feeling like you spent your money well and you spent your time well. This is a long movie. This movie is about as long as Batman v Superman, but it does not feel that long. And it feels like every minute that you watched it was time well spent. And that, in my book, is the description of a good movie. And that's exactly what this is. This is a damn good movie. Hey folks, hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please like it and share it and subscribe to this channel if you're not subbed already. And also please consider helping me to make more videos like this one by supporting this channel through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.